Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well. It is Tuesday, May 23rd, 2023, and welcome to Soul Strengthening Sessions. I'm here with our final video to the series that I started back in November of 2022, From Old to New. And I actually recorded this last week, really long video with no sound, so I'm doing this a second time. And there's something to that, but this is suspended in the unknown. I actually wrote something very specific about this that I believe reading it word for word is going to get us completely ready for this video and for this teaching, much of which is actually going to just be as the Spirit leads and as I feel led to share. This might be a little bit of about a lot as well, because it has been a little bit since I've done a video and kind of checked in with y'all and see how everyone's doing. So just be ready for anything, okay? And it's appropriate for this title, Suspended in the Unknown. So I'm going to begin with what I wrote down. And this was back in the first week of May 9th, 2023. So here I am at the end of the month, finally getting this video out. But this is all by design. This is something that I've been learning this year, and that is to not only expect the unexpected, but expect better than the unexpected. So this moment, okay, that I'm going to be getting into today is a very specific moment in transition from old to new, and this is what I'm calling it, Beautiful Collision, which is actually named after a song that is very near and dear to my heart, a song that I've loved forever, but was very much amplified for me in November of 2022, which was, as I shared probably several times that month, it was a very pivotal month for me, where the Lord was taking me from where I was to where I was going. And so I'm sort of encapsulating this specific moment that I'm talking about in this video, okay? So let's get right into it. I'm going to begin with just reading word for word what I wrote down when I initially started putting this together. And really, that's all I put together. I do have a few questions I'm going to ask for you to just kind of ponder as we're wrapping up this series, and a few highlights to kind of help us get deeper into this, okay? So, here we go. There is this moment between releasing the old and taking hold of the new. I call it Beautiful Collision. It's where you are completely suspended without a safety net between your past and your future. In this moment, in this moment that I'm talking about, this is where transformation happens. It's a magical and painful moment of time. You feel sick and elated at the same time. You feel out of control and yet completely at peace. All the while, you have no place in your mind to fathom what is happening to you. It's seeing your death and your life all at the same time. Okay, so this is very profound to me. I've lived this. I feel like I've been coming out of this moment that I'm speaking about, which is interesting with time because our sense of time is very different than the eternal span of time. So, but this moment that I'm speaking of is the last sliver of time of your transformation before you come out. And there's a lot that is required, and I'm going to get into this because it's a very critical time for anyone who's going through any kind of change from old to new. Now, as I've shared throughout these videos in this series, I've been speaking specifically about your own personal life and season where you're at, because that's important to know where you're at in your life, but also corporately where we're at in terms of time and in terms of what's happening and what's going to happen. Much of the time, at least the way the Lord speaks to me, is that I get insight about what's happening corporately while I'm actually going through something simultaneously. That's just kind of how He talks to me and how He teaches me. So with this said, and this is interesting as well, because last week when I recorded this, I felt more zealous and present in this. So I sort of feel like I wanted to capture that in the video, and I did, but again, I can't release it. There's no sound. So, or I might just release it, actually. Who knows? Maybe there's something there that needs to be shared, but everything happens for a reason. So this video is going to bring this all together. Suspended in the unknown. So let's get into this. I'm going to go over the 3 questions, just read them out, and then we're going to break them down in a little bit, just so you can kind of keep it in the back of your mind what you're going to be thinking about. So the first question is, what are you still holding on to of your old life? The second question is, what is keeping you from moving forward into your new life? And I'll get into this in a minute. And those 2 questions sound exactly identical, but they're actually not. The third question is, what does your unknown look like? Okay, so keep those in mind as we're going through this. So I'm going to start with also going over these 2 scriptures that I felt were appropriate for this. And as they come up again, then I'll come back to them and we can study them a little bit more. So the first one is 1 Corinthians 5:17. And it reads, "Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old has passed away. Behold, the new has come." And the second one is Matthew 9:17. And this reads, "Neither is new wine put into old wineskins. If it is, the skins burst, and the wine is spilled, and the skins are destroyed. But new wine is put into fresh wineskins, so both are preserved." So this is a verse I've shared throughout this series, because it was sort of a foundational text about this understanding of you can't have old and new without something being compromised. And that's a whole lesson in itself. But let's go into this first thought form, okay? I'm going to kind of get into a little bit about what am I speaking about when I say the unknown, because the unknown is exactly what it sounds like, and much more. So the first thing I'm going to state is the unknown is the place of final transformation. It's the last stop before take off to destination, and whatever that is. Now, again, this is very general, what I'm sharing, but when you apply it to your own life, then we get very specific about what I'm talking about. And this is sort of designed for that, so that you can implement this to where am I at right now in what I'm sharing. As I said, this specific moment in time is very critical, because we are works in progress. We are constantly changing and growing, or hopefully we are. And hopefully changing and growing in the direction of God-given purpose, which begins with self-awareness and self-reflection, and coming to a place in your life where you realize that you need something bigger than yourself to help you navigate your life in a healthy way. So I'm going to get back to this, but I'm going to continue with the next two. So I have 3 of these. The next one is, the unknown is a place where, because it's unfamiliar and intimidating, we may want to give up and go backwards. Okay? And I might get into that in just a minute. And the third one is, the unknown is a place that our character is both built and solidified. And this is what faith is all about. It is trusting in what I can't see, to see what I want to see in my life. Okay? So let's come back to this. Suspended in the unknown. This moment between releasing the old and taking hold of the new. Okay. What I'm going to share here, this is important because a lot of times, many of you know this because I've been doing these videos for a little bit, but a lot of the times when I feel inspired to write something that I feel is sort of a revelation that the Lord's giving me about what I'm teaching or whatever it is, I just write. I don't think about what I'm writing. I just write it down. And this is one of those moments. So what I'm going to do is just kind of keep coming back to this throughout the video, but right now I want to kind of break it down a little bit because this is going to be sort of puzzle pieces to the rest of this video and what I'm going to be sharing, okay? Which again, as I said, a little bit about a lot, and also it's almost as much a surprise to me as it is to you, whatever I'm going to share. Now, releasing the old and taking hold of the new. So this requires a deliberate act of the will, okay? What is our will? It is part of the soul. It is the place where we make decisions. It is a place where really we go from one thing to the next, okay? So I have to choose to let go of my past pain. Specifically, I'm going to talk about that as an example, okay? And take hold of my new healing, okay? Now, notice that this is, I like to use a visual of your hand carrying something. You need to, in order to release something you're carrying, you need to open your hand to let it go. And it is the same posture and position to take hold of something and to receive it. So it's, I don't know, little things like that are just amazing to me because it really is a literal picture of what this looks like in this place of the inner being that we actually can't see, but we can feel it, and we live it, we experience it. So when we're learning about, let's say, I want to let go of old thought patterns that are not healthy for me, because I've noticed that I'm stuck in cycles, and so I want to learn how to release those old thought patterns and exchange them for a new way of thinking. This is why this is very general, because it can apply to anything in your life. It can be a mindset, it can be an attitude of the heart, it can be a physical issue. It doesn't matter what it is, but the concept and the principle is the same. And that is that in order for you, let's say, you are learning to implement a new healthy strategy for yourself, whether it's exercise or, as I said, having more positive thinking instead of negative thinking. There is a moment, a very pivotal moment that happens before it's finalized, okay? And the reason it's very pivotal and critical is because anytime you are trying to move in a direction that is good, and better yet, God ordained and spirit led, you're going to be opposed. This is just the law of human nature. It's the law of spiritual warfare. It's just how it is. So it's important to know this, because if you find yourself, let's say, let's use exercise, because exercise is one of those that I think everybody at some point has struggled with fitness, routine, and some of that is perhaps the benchmarks are maybe not quite for us, and we need to learn how to change that. But the point is that if I want to see positive change and results in my life, by moving in a direction that I feel is positive, I need to remember several things as I'm doing this. The first is, it's not going to be easy. Change is not easy. And this is, it sounds very elementary and basic, but it's important, because a lot of times we give up before we even start because of little obstacles and oppositions. But knowing that if I want this as a part of my life, I'm going to have to work at it. Okay? I'm going to have to discipline myself. I'm going to have to implement new habits. I'm going to have to have a spiritual anchor to go to whenever I feel weak in my mind or in my emotions, whatever it is. So in this example of exercise, for example, if you're trying to, and I'm just going to keep it very general because it covers all the bases, but the goal is I want to be healthier in my physical body. So that's going to require sacrifice. It's going to require discipline. It's going to require changing some habits that may not be so easy for me to do. Okay? But if I want to truly get from where I'm at to where I want to be, I need to sustain the course by keeping these things in place. And also remembering that it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. And when it's not easy, I need to have strategies in place to keep me on my path and on my track. Because this is where we get tripped up. This is where we want to throw in the towel. This is where we want to just forget it. I'm just going to do what I know to do. And this is where we find ourselves in the same pattern and cycle that keeps us stuck in our life. Okay, so the unknown is a place of final transformation. Okay, now I'm going to drop down to the second one because this is kind of what I'm talking about. The unknown is a place where, because it's unfamiliar and intimidating, we may want to give up and go backwards. Okay, so already right now you're probably thinking of something in your life that, yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This is an area that I struggle with, that I know I want better for myself, but every time I've tried, I find myself going to my default mode and just staying stuck, or worse, going backwards. So why does this happen? Unfamiliar and intimidating. We are creatures of comfort. We like familiarity. We like safety. We like security. This is innate for the human frame, because, and actually, we have these things, spiritually speaking, in God. We have peace, we have rest, we have safety, we have assurance that whatever's going on, it's going to be okay. But because much of the time we also tend to go to our default modes, which I've shared before about, and usually they're triggered because of unhealed parts of self that we just naturally, it's almost like we go kind of back to primitive thinking, where it's just self-preservation, survival mode. Okay, again, that's normal and natural, but we can learn how to implement strategies to keep us on the track to where we want to go. Okay, and this is the whole life journey, really, is what it is. I was going to say the inner healing journey, but it's all related and connected. The unknown is the place our character is both built and solidified. Okay, so again, this goes back to if I want to be my truest self, because we all have a version of ourselves that was always meant to be in joy and be in peace and be in love. But because of life experience, childhood trauma, many of you know this is what I teach all the time, but because of those two pillars of our childhood trauma and our life experience that we've accumulated because of unhealed trauma, we, again, can go to those places of feeling insecure and scared to change and to grow. However, this is exactly what needs to happen for us to become our true, authentic self. We have to learn, number one, who am I in my brokenness? And secondly, who am I restored? Okay? And this is revealed first spiritually. As you grow spiritually and as you walk with God and you learn about Him and He teaches you about you. And this is also developed by going to that place of being honest with yourself about where you've been hurt in your life. So, the unknown is the place our character is both built and solidified. This is very interesting because I call this She's Restored. Again, I've shared this before, but The name came to me as I was looking for a support group for fibromyalgia at the time. And it just came to me, that name. That was my screen name. Little did I know that was going to become much more than what it was at the time. But what is restoration? Restoration, and to restore something, is to bring it back to its original form or its original function. So, and that's not easy. I mean, if you think of someone trying to restore an old house, it's a process. In many cases, it has to be broken down to its foundation so that it can be rebuilt and restored with new material. And that's in essence what is going on with us when we decide that I want to live my new life. That means I have to learn how to release my old life. Okay? Now again, I'm using this generally speaking, but it can be anything. It can be a season. Maybe you were a teacher for 20 years and you decided you don't want to do that anymore and you want to go into another field of work. That's your old life as a teacher and your new life as whatever you choose. It can be anything, but the process is the same. The principle is the same. I'm going to come back to this writing that I did. It's where you are completely suspended without a safety net between your past and your future. Okay, so again, well, obviously that means right now. Where I'm at right now, is between old and new. Okay? Now this specific time frame that I'm speaking of is a specific time frame that I'm speaking of. I could call this a catalyst moment in your life where something happened or you experienced something, or you saw something, or you heard something that is that moment that it clicks, it makes sense, and it just happens. Now this is the amazing part, which is very hard to explain, because this is why I wrote this, because it's very hard to explain this very final moment that I'm talking about. Okay? Without a safety net, means I am trusting the process. Okay? I'm trusting that as I'm coming out of this building into the pasture, this last step that I'm going to take that's going to get me out of this space that I'm in into this space is going to be okay. Okay? So that's another good way to look at it. It's sort of like, let's say, this is a good example because I've recently, this year, I've been to more states this year than many years combined behind me, because of where I live now. So this could be likened to straddling the state line. Okay, if you were to pull up to the state line of any two states, park your car there and stand with one foot in one state and one foot in the other. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. You are on the last moment before you step into the new direction. Okay, so if you're going, let's say, I'll just use my example because this, the last thing this last weekend, we were driving and we were in Iowa, and then we went to Minnesota very briefly. But so let's say you're standing in Iowa and in Minnesota, and your destination is this way, Minnesota. So it's that last moment of right before I land. This is the moment I'm talking about. However, you don't know what's on the other side. This is where faith comes in. You feel sick and elated. You feel out of control and at peace all at the same time. Why? Because when you've decided to move where you're supposed to move and flow how you're supposed to flow, specifically speaking, as the Spirit leads and wills, it is very much like being blindfolded and walking in a direction, trusting that you're going in the right direction. In fact, it can feel that way many times because this is faith. It is the substance of things not seen. I'm sorry. Do I know the definition of faith? Faith is a substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. This is the faith. This is what faith is all about. It is about trusting what I cannot see, and at the same time, not putting all my faith in what I do see. That's a whole other teaching. But this is this catalyst moment of, okay, when I look back this way, this is my old life. And when I'm looking this way forward, this is my new life. And I'm right here in the cusp. If I go this way, I'm stepping into destiny. And if I choose to go back, then I'm not ready for the new. Okay? So, many of us are here. I will say many of us have been here for a little bit. And I believe that these 3 thoughts that I'm sharing. Number 1, the unknown is the place of final transformation. The unknown, suspension. Final transformation. Before, and it's the last stop before you arrive to your destination. And I did write take off to destination because honestly, again, this whole time concept, it's almost like it doesn't exist in this space because it's almost as though it's a deja vu. It's as though time is critical because I'm literally making a decision about my life, and yet time is lapsed or expedited even at times. Depends on where the Lord has you. But this space that I'm talking about, and again, I say moment because it really is a moment in time. If you were to think about 6 months of my life, it's still a moment in time. And again, it can be 6 months of your life that this happens. But it's a very critical space to be, especially, again, I feel like there's so many layers to this because it is very personal where the Lord has you, and yet it's very corporate because it is very much what is happening and what has been happening especially over the course of the last 3 years. So this is important to remember. It is the final moment, the final step, whatever resonates for you. before I am transformed, before I am into my new. Okay? Now remember, the opposition is going to be there. So expect it. It's going to be a challenge. So expect it. And not only expect it, but be ready for it. Be prepared. Have a strategy to know, okay, first of all, I need to trust my own hearing. I need to trust my own intuition. And I need to trust that the decisions I'm making are leading me somewhere. Okay? Because only then can you have confidence to make decisions about your life. So when opposition comes, and it's going to come, you're ready to stand against it. You're not going to buckle under pressure. You're not going to be swayed or deceived because people say things that are contrary to what you've heard in your spirit or what you know in your heart. You know, all of this is important to remember as you are leaving your old for your new. And if you are somebody who is very much, this is hilarious coming from me now, because I will say that there's a very simple part of me that just likes, I just like simplicity. I like I just want to be safe and comfortable. Okay? Yet there's this other part of me, because I've learned to come out of my comfort zones. I've learned to deal with heavy stuff that I didn't want to, that I can have that peace. And of course, all glory to God, because He's the one who gives us the peace. But I can have peace in the midst of major life transition. However, we all have access to this, but it is a deliberate choice. I choose to believe what God has spoken over my life, or I choose to believe the opposition and the circumstance that might contradict what I know in my heart. Okay? So this is where this space that I'm talking about. Okay? Should I buy the house or not? Okay? It's a beautiful house. It's my dream house. I have enough money. But all these things. Okay? This pivotal moment before going into this new phase of your life, or the next step, or whatever it is, you're going to have this happening. Okay? Thirdly, to remember, the unknown is the place our character is both built and solidified. I'm going to share a little bit about when I started being drawn to God in a way that I didn't expect. Okay? Because I had rebelled against God for a long time. And I came to that place where I knew he existed. I knew He was real. But for a while I just wanted nothing to do with God at all. But I came to a point in my life where it was life or death. It was like, okay, either this is my life and I don't know how much longer I have, or I want to know what You have for me. So I chose, okay, God, I'm done. Like, I'm sick of this lifestyle. I'm sick of how I'm living. Please help me. And that was my final cry and my final surrender. Well, actually not my final surrender, but it was I would say my first actual surrender. Okay, and He led me in a way that I didn't expect. And He continues to do this. That's funny. Sorry. It's funny. But it's all beautiful. Okay. Last year I talked about, was it last year? It might have been 2021. But no, it was 2021. It was August of 2021. I had a teaching on, I remember stating very specifically that it's going to be heartache and beauty, okay? And it's going to be too great for us to handle. Now, I was speaking specifically about the teaching that I was teaching, also the time frame that we were in corporately, but also the times to come, okay? Because there is going to be too much for us to handle, okay? For some of us, it's going to be so much beauty that we're just going to be overwhelmed. Some of us are already in that and going into that space. And for some of us, it's going to be too much heartache that we're going to be overwhelmed. But all that to say that you have to remember this is all by design. When you choose, as I did, as I was saying, you choose, I want the life it's not even I want the life I'm supposed to live, like it's an obligation. It's like I want the life that I know in my soul, in my heart, in my spirit, that I'm meant to live. And we all have that. That's why we're constantly searching and seeking for love, because we were created to be loved and we were created to love. Okay? We're constantly searching for purpose because we were created with a calling and an assignment and a purpose. Okay? So if you're there where you don't feel fulfilled, you're still unsure, a lot of it could just be that you need to start at the beginning, and that is seeking the Lord about, what am I supposed to be doing with my life? Okay? So, going back to my testimony, when I decided that I wanted to know, why am I here? It didn't exactly go the way I thought it was going to go. One of the first things that happened to me was I got sick. I got diagnosed with a chronic illness. And I was very confused by this because it made no sense that I'm trying to do the good thing, do the right thing, and follow God, and then I get sick. But what I didn't know at the time was that season of my life of dealing with physical illness was exactly what I needed to humble me, to help me release who I thought I was for who I truly am. And it was a whole, I'm still in this process, but at the very beginning of it, I did not expect it, and I certainly didn't want it. So in that moment, I could have chosen to rebel and say, you know what, I don't want anything to do with you. Like, if this is how it's going to be, why would I want to follow a God who's going to let me be sick? Right? So this moment before the beauty, the new, is very critical for us. And it is, again, I feel like the reason I've been doing this series, which I believe I started in November of 2022, is because a lot of new is coming in the midst of the old. And here's where I'm going to get into the corporate stuff, okay? And many of you know this, I don't get into politics, and I don't get into the narratives. I don't get into any of those details unless I feel specifically led to. But what I will say is that the old system of the world that we've been accustomed to has been breaking down, especially, I would say, over the last, dare I say, 7 years. That's interesting. But there is going to be a new system. And with that, we have to be ready spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically for all that's coming. So going back to our questions, these are just for you to ponder as you're going through your own transformation, your own change, your own journey. What are you still holding on to of your old? And I'm just going to leave it there. I put old life, but that's because that makes relevance for me, where I'm at. When I say this, I'm speaking specifically about things that keep you stagnant, keep you in bondage, keep you from living the life you're meant to live. Okay? This can be a mental stronghold. That is to say, it can be a thought pattern that you developed because of trauma or because of anxiety and fear. It can be an emotional stronghold. That is to say, and y'all know I can get really deep into this stuff, and I'm going to try not to, but something that is either still broken in me that I'm healing from, or something that has been healed, but I get triggered and I have to deliberately remind myself, okay, I don't need to respond this way or react this way anymore, because I'm not in the presence of what I was in my old life, or whatever it is. It can be a physical stronghold in your old life, or from your old way of doing things, or let's say a physical addiction of any kind, that when you feel triggered, or you feel whatever it is, you want to go do that. What are you still holding on to from your old? Okay. Number 2, what is keeping you from moving forward into your new life, or your new mindset, emotional response, physical health, whatever it is? What is keeping you from moving forward? Okay. Some of this can be related, and some of this can be completely out of the blue that you didn't think. Okay. Again, a lot of times it's because we're intimidated of the unknown, the unfamiliarity of it. We might feel like we're not qualified. We might feel insecure. I mean, the list goes on. But what is keeping you from moving forward? Okay. The example of the teacher who was a teacher for 20 years, retired, and now she wants to be a baker. Okay. What's keeping you from going in that direction? Okay. And the third question, what does your unknown look like right now? Okay, I think that's all I'm going to share. And this is the last of the series, From Old to New. I'm not really sure where I'm going to go next, aside from just inner healing teachings. I know that's something that was very heavy on my spirit last year. Moving into this year, that I was going to be really focusing on this, because this is where I am called to be. This is why I'm here, actually. This is why I went through all the hell I went through in my life, so I can heal, learn to heal, and help others learn how to heal. Now, it's crazy to think we're already almost mid-year, and as I've shared, and I feel like I've been sharing this all year, is this sort of space of unknown for me. but I also realize this is where we're at in time. So with that said, those of you that are interested in the soul strengthening sessions, I'm going to do my very best, okay? My goal right now, and has been, to have a video once a month, because that's been more realistic than doing it every day, because of my major life change and everything that's happened for me this year, which is beautiful and amazing, and I'm so thankful that I'm here finally. But I also do want to have more consistency with my Zoom meetings. So those of you that are interested, please reach out to me on Instagram or here on YouTube. Or you can just email me, shesrestored@gmail.com. Those of you who are interested in doing one-to-one sessions with me, I do have a special rate for the She's Restored family and the Soñado Libre family. So if you are here and you are a part of those communities, please let me know when you message me. And what do I do there? So basically, my one-to-one sessions, I teach you and I help you implement tools and strategies to recover and heal from whatever you've been through. I typically like to use different art mediums, music, and movement, because I believe that all three of those realms were given to us for our good and for our benefit. You don't have to be an artist or a musician to do art therapy with me. In fact, you might even discover that you are one. But I think we're all artists, so that's a whole different thought. But right now, my website is down. Generally, it's shesrestored.com, but again, just email me if you're interested in doing one-to-one sessions. I am very much available to work with you if you can't afford the session or the rates. But I do charge for those one-to-one sessions. The group classes right now, I was having, actually, I forgot my own rate. I'm charging $7 actually the rest of this year for the group sessions on Zoom. So I am charging, but it's only $7. So if you want to join me there, that would be great. Otherwise, you can look forward to these videos probably once a month at this point. If anything changes, you guys know, I'll let you know. I hope everyone's doing well. I haven't forgotten about y'all. It's just right now the Lord's had me really focusing mostly and primarily on my own life, my personal life, which I'm happy to say is very beautiful, and I'm very thankful for where I am right now, and very excited to see where the Lord is taking me, because as I say, it's sort of like I have a blindfold on and I'm smiling, but I'm also scared. That's pretty much what this year has been. So I think that's all. I will talk to you guys very soon. Please leave me any feedback or any questions, and feel free to reach out anytime about anything. Okay, love y'all. Talk to you soon. Bye.